what we love to do, where we mentally free you from every mental slavery, every mental hijack, every mental stress, every mental disorder. I'm not talking about medically, but psychologically. We deal with your psychological mental state where you have lost your mind. I don't know whether you have ever lost your mind. Um, you don't need to lose your mind, and that's why we're here. So, this is a clinic where we clinically provide you with tools, with content that will help you live a life of freedom. We want we want you to enjoy life, the life that has been given to you. You need to enjoy. You have a choice, even in a choiceless situation. We don't want your life to be driven by people, by events, by circumstances, by sickness, by failure, by disappointment. You are bigger than them. In fact, I want to tell you, you are bigger than your sickness. You are only hijacked by sickness when your mental strength is lower than sickness. You are higher than your failure. You are only has rented your mind to failure, to possess, to dictate. And that's why it has hijacked it, and the effect of failure has given you a wrong identity, and so you identify something lower than who you are. When disappointment gives you mood swing, you have disappointment has dictated your entire precious mind or mind position. So what we do here is to calibrate your mind to become mentally strong so that you can diffuse and be able to dictate and filter and deal with external matter, because this is a precious gift that has been given to you. And the moment you know how valuable your mental state is, the more you want to protect it, the more you want to shield it, the more you want to put boundaries, the more you want to put filters, the more you want to put arsenals that can filter them not to have access. And also, your POA, point of access, is very important. And that's why we want to enrich you with tools that has the capacity and the capability, to keep your mind safe. So today is no other. We want to make sure that you live with the best of your life. And you don't need money, you don't need people really, first and foremost. All that you need is yourself. You are complete, you are whole, you're not broken. It's your broken state that connects to broken external world. It's your desperation, your mind that is desperate, that identifies desperation. It's a weak mind that interprets event from state of hopelessness, helplessness, and incapacitation. So once your mind has been hijacked by effect, then you realize that you are finished, because your mind was supposed to be a cause and not an effect. So most people's mind are governed by effect because they have not had the capacity to be able to define themselves, define their mind, and set up internal orders that governs their mind. And once there is no mental regulation, then you are subject to all kinds of attack or hijack. And that's why you say, oh, my mental health it has been impacted. No. You cannot continue to access your mental state to external triggers or external circumstances. So here is to solidify you. your mind and your mental work so that you are stronger than you think. And today, we're going to dive into a very important lesson: outcome dependent. But before we get in there, we build a structure before then and create stories that will help you. Ladies and gentlemen, your mind is your greatest asset. Your mind is your greatest asset. The quality of your mind is the greatest thing that you need. I say that there are 5 things that are important, very important, and I'm going to outline it again, just for sake of emphasis. I say this always. Number 1 is knowledge. Knowledge is so powerful. Your state, your current state, whether you're suffering, whether you think you're suffering. I mean, suffering is not what has happened to you. It could be painful, but suffering is the story behind what has happened to you that you consistently remind yourself. Something has happened 2 years ago. It's not happening now. Now, you see, because your mental assent to that thing, your mental definition was negatively expressed or imprinted into your mind state, and is creating a story of ugly. By the way, every time you are angry, you have weakened your internal order. Every time you are irritated by external happenstance, you're conditioning your mental state to weakness. And the more you compound this weakness, the more you begin to interpret events from a state of weakness. And that's exactly what has finished humanity. Because our expression, most times our imprint or definition of a thing or a description, our relationship with things are usually from a weak state. And that weak state now governs our mental state. And that the power of our mental state have been destroyed and weakened. So it becomes powerless. So it denies that power structure to be able to control outcome or control events. Now events now control the mind. Why? Because you are mentally weak. And the source of mental weak, let me give instance. So let's say, for instance, that you go visiting your cousin, and in the process, your cousin when you have this negative imprint, they begin to now condition you. And now what it means that it hijacks what we call your internal cognitive capability. Internal is how you see things, how you define things. So now how you define things is a function of your mental state. Let me tell you, when the Bible says count it all but joy, you think that it's just giving you, you say, I'm a human being. Why should I do? It's because everything that you don't count as joy, you count as sadness, weakens your mental strength. And that is the problem. Oh, Patrick, you come with this unattainable concept. That's why where we are. Because if you miss your train, if you miss your taxi, if you go somewhere and it did not align to your specific idea how it should be, you're likely going to say it's a bad day. The more you say today is a bad day, the more your cognitive capability has been compromised. The more your state of mind has been compromised. So in that weakened state, your relationship with event will be controlled from that state. That's why I see sad people always, they are sad. And they interpret from that state of sadness. Because now, the story in their mind is a sad state. And that's what governs their responses. And I don't want to go deeper in terms of psychological or physiological theory or some sort of thing, but these are concepts. It's just a simple thing. Let me explain. Let's say you have two friends. And these other guys, when it comes to just all huggy. Oh, nice. You're likely going to say that guy is a great guy. Because it's hugging you. He might be tolerating you, but want to respect you. Because probably he or she has a very strong emotional intelligence and has moved to a place of compassion and empathy where they connect with people, not from a state of weakness, but a state of strength. So now, when you go to another friend who is neutral, has no sense of expression, emotional expression, you don't know whether that person is sad, he doesn't know whether he's just neutral in his mind, no form of expression. You're likely going to say, this guy it's always frowning. You judge that person that's always frowning. Right? You live in what we call judgmental state. And those judgmental state is a function of how your heart, how your mind has been conditioned over a period of time. Now, because now you approach something from the past, from the experience that you have said bad. So when he say count it all but joy, what he does is to help you to be a neutral person, where you utilize event and occurrence for its merit and purpose, not by your own weak judgment. This could be a bit deeper, but please open your mind. If you understand this mechanism, you understand why they say rejoice always. Then again, rejoice. Why they say with joy will you draw from the wells of salvation. And that's why in the blueprint of the Holy Spirit, when he talk about the fruit of the Spirit is what? Love. Like joy, peace, gentleness. When you become gentle to event, what it means that you are considerate. You are not judgmental. But when you are not gentle in your interpretation, that's why I say soft answer turneth away wrath. With soft words are kings fully persuaded. So these things are not just there for you to listen. They are there for the enrichment of your soul. I really wish that people would come and listen to this more often, because this is what it is. So you go to business and you have sales, you're excited. Then other days you don't have sales, you are sad. Now, what you have done is that you have now conditioned, like cells now condition you into joy, and now non-cells condition you into sadness. So you now see that polarity. So what if you have a whole week no cells? You're going to be sad. And now so your optimism and your excitement started dipping, and that's what impacts on you negatively. That's why people have high blood pressure. Why? Because they are more negatively charged rather than positively charged. So you're mentally weak. So what we bring here is to make sure that you have this understanding to know that it is not outside that matters, it's inside that matters. The state of your mind, when you're mentally strong, what it does is that it protects your emotion. That's what it's emotional control. So relatively, the state of your mind controls significantly your emotional state. That's why good cells will say, I'm happy. When you have a down cells, you say, I'm sad. The same place. Oh, when you're ill, you become sad. Right? Now, you train your mind in that state that you now begin to classify it as sad and joyful. Now, that is what will determine the integrity of your mind. And I've always said something. Who taught us to associate sickness with sadness? Who taught us to associate disappointment with sadness? How did we get to find out that my boss is toxic? How did we define that? Why? Because we are mentally weak, and our mental weak state will interpret, define, and relate with situation from the state of our mind, which now will impact on our emotion. Because now our emotion is not controlled, not regulated, but it's now inspired or influences by the state of your mind. Very critical moment, very critical thing. Now, he said, with joy will you draw from the wells of salvation, meaning that your sad life will disconnect you from salvation. Salvation is transformation or transition. Okay, so that's why in this clinic, what we intend to do is to build your mental strength. And once you build your mental strength, you are now dependent on yourself, not interdependent with outcome. That's why we're building this. So your emotional regulation has to do with the state of your mind, the story within your mind, the state of your mind, and the sensitivity of your mind. These three things really would define how your emotion is controlled. Then, of course, you see, you know that when you're not mentally strong and you're not emotionally regulated and controlled, it weakens your behavior. So your behavior is tied down to your mental state. That's why you see that somebody has annoyed you, and now somebody that you have respected, you have respect, has said something to you, and you judge it from your weak state because your mind has already been hijacked and weakened. And in that weak state, it has impacted on your emotion. So now your emotion has been now corrupted to define that effect as bad moment. And your behavior towards that person becoming an irritable behavior. Why? Because your mental state that was supposed to govern your emotion has already been compromised. And that's why he said, if a good man, listen to this, if a good man meets a bad person and fidgets, it means, it says, his source has been compromised. It's like a rotten fountain, like his fountain that the source with which you operate has been weakened. You know what that means? It's a scripture. It's if a good man fidgets in front of a wicked man could be sickness, it could be disappointment, it could be disillusionment, it could be anything, what you call evil. But by the way, evil is not power. Evil is just an experience. Evil is not power. Evil is an experience. It's you that empower it by your weak mind. And don't forget, what is born of God overcometh the world. This is our victory, even our faith in Christ Jesus. So that's why he said we have the mind of Christ. And that's why he said, I've not given you the spirit of what? Fear. But what? Of sound mind. Of what? Power. And what? Love. I'm going to get into that 3 dimensions and tell you why once you don't have a sound mind, you are never safe. When you don't have a sweet mind, you're never secured. When you don't have a solid mind, you are so rattled, because the solidity of your mind that can withstand all the vicissitude, all the troubles, all the adversity. But because your mind has not been trained to be in sound state, It lacked the merit of the power. And of course, at that point in time, you cannot operate from love, because now you are living a conditioned life rather than unconditional life. And I can tell you how conditioned life is the major problem why you see that people are impacting on you, why your neighbors are impacting on you, why when your neighbor plays his or her music, even though I'm not an advocate of it, that it triggers you up. Now that music, that loud music, have now control your entire space. You lose your peace, you lose that inner tranquility and inner balance, so become so unstable. So look at it very well. When you're not mentally, you have not trained your mind. Unfortunately, we go to school, but we don't go to school of mind. And mind is the most important thing. I say that 5 things are important. Knowledge of your mind, the skill of your mind, the energy of your mind, the attention of your mind, and the state of your mind. These are very key. What is the knowledge? Knowledge is your infinite awareness. You need to be able to put infinite, what they call intuitive awareness. Intuitive knowledge, where you have the body, what they call the body-mind intelligent. It means that every time your mind, you see something and you clinch, you have trained your mind into weakness, into becoming afraid. You're not relating it with the internal power and internal order. You have lost it to external triggers. Every time your mind is constricted, like your chest, tight chest, or you have a feeble hand because of event, what you're doing, you are training your mind to be weak. And that's why every time you have a sweaty hand, maybe you're going for an interview, or there's a tension, you become tensed. What it means that you are training your mind from a state of pollution. It's not sound. A sound man cannot go through that. A sound man will look at it from the place of strength, from the place of power, and from the place of love. So it's not just about quoting the scriptures. It's the relevance of the scriptures, because they are powerful. And that's why you need this mental clinic to be able to reclaim your inward authority to do life and not life doing you. So you see, when we talk about knowledge of the mind, it's what I call intuitive mind, to be able to give you the knowledge base. I'm going to talk about belief and knowledge, while we now transcend into outcome. Why your belief can be a strong enemy, but knowledge cannot be your liberator. So the knowledge of the mind is very important. It gives you what they call intuitive awareness. And intuitive awareness will give you clarity. So when we talk about mind, sound mind, what it means that you are not hijacked by happenstance, or you're not affected by people's disposition. You're not controlled by events, maybe the market structure, maybe your car, maybe the house. So what it calls mind clarity means that you are neutral, no judgment. You just take things the way they are. And what it gives you a space, so that you are in that space, you determine and you connect to your inherent power, which is choice. So most of us have no choice in this life. In fact, when somebody make you angry or irritated, what happens is that you don't have a choice. That's what it means, that your choice, your inherent choice. Don't forget, this day I give unto you life and death. Choose what? Life. It's in your power to choose. So it means that every time you are angry about event, you didn't have a choice. You have automatically assigned to negativity, which is death. But choice means, oh, yes, I am ill on this sick bed. The same energy of expression to sad is also the same energy to smile. It doesn't change that you are not ill. It's not a denial, it's just an expression. Or you get to the house and something has gone bad. It just went bad. It's the state of that. Who told you that a sadness would be the inherent choice to express it? Why don't you laugh at it? It doesn't change. It's already bad. It's because of your weakness, because of the process of actualizing that. So you don't have mental clarity. So the first thing that happened in your knowledge of the mind is mental clarity. And what it does is that it gives you wisdom. Now, I have said times that wisdom is law. Most people don't have wisdom of the mind. And what is the wisdom of the mind? The law of the mind. The law of the mind will give you a direction. It is a compass of the heart, of the mind. And that is where your destiny. Destiny doesn't mean an end. Destiny means that every time you make a choice, that's your destiny. Because your choice is rooted, is what generates your destiny. It's just choice. So you now see how the blueprint of knowledge of the mind matters. It gives you what? Clarity. What does it give? It gives you wisdom. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is law that regulates the mind. So the mind should have law. It's what legislates what comes in, what have access, and what should not be entertained. Not every thought should be entertained in your mind. Not every thought. So you see, the knowledge of the mind will give you clarity, it will give you wisdom, and wisdom is law, and law is direction, and direction is destiny. And what it does, it gives you what is called an intrinsic understanding. You don't judge a thing from the past. You understand event at the moment. Because most of your judgment is already what we call cognitive bias. You're seeing them from the previous event, not from what it is at the moment. Because you need to have the mind that is curious to find the cause of event, not allowing the effect of the event to impact in your mind. This teaching is liberating. I wish I've known some of these things. But that's the power. So when he says, I have not given the spirit of fear, because fear hijacks you. Why? Because fear means that you are no longer, your mind has been clouded and hijacked. So you don't have mental clarity. And now you can operate from wisdom, which is law, that gives you direction, and the other thing, you will lose understanding. And most of the things that anoint us, we do not have the full understanding. Of course, the good book says we know in part. So you see that it's your knowledge in part that is actually affecting you. So now we'll talk about knowledge of the mind. We'll now talk about the skill. The mind has skill. Let me tell you how the mind has skill. Every time something happens to you, the skill of the mind is be silent. Silence gives you space and surrender. We need that space to connect into our internal order. An internal order is so robust, is so magnificent if we have access to it. That's why in I think somewhere it said that your inner man may be strengthened. I think it's somewhere in Ephesians. Let me look at Ephesians. So you justify what I'm saying. I'm coming a minute. That you may be strengthened. Yes, Ephesians chapter 3, verse 16. Let's look at it in TPT. I love this topic we're dealing with. The knowledge of the mind will give you mental clarity, and it will give you wisdom of the mind that brings you law, direction, and destiny. Yes, I like this. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 16. Why are you bringing this? I'm bringing tools, the skill of the mind. Now we have moved from knowledge to skill of the mind. And the skill of the mind starts from silence. It's only in silence that you maintain your inner mental clarity, that you connect onto the wisdom of the mind, that you have curiosity, which is the understanding of the mind, in order to find strength, not find weakness. Now 16 say, and I pray that he will unveil within you. So you see, within you, the unlimited riches of his glory and favor unto supernatural strength flood your innermost, being with his divine mind and explosive power. Within you, the unlimited riches. Oh, your mind is unlimited in richness. The richness of the mind has to only come through the skillful drafting, utilization of the mind that has not been captured or hijacked by negative impression and negative stories and negative disposition, which is what I call the mind imprint. What are you imprinting in the mind? Is it knowledge that has clarity, that has wisdom and curiosity, which is deep understanding, that has been trained? You know, when the scripture said, renew your mind, what it should be is training your mind on a daily basis, because the faculty of your mind must be constantly be trained. That's why you acquire the mind skill to be able to, to connect to the riches of the mind. Otherwise, the riches of the mind will not be depleted. And once the depletion of the mind, it becomes mind poverty. And it's the mind poverty that now governs the state of your mind and which affects your emotional state and, of course, your behavior. That's why you see when people take substance and it becomes a habit, what happens is that the stronghold is because their mind has been hijacked. That's actually what habit does, automatic. So they have lost the control. They don't know the knowledge again. So something has hijacked you. So your habit that you are confronting is a stronghold. It's been compromised. There's no skill to give you silence, still, smile, and sensitivity. That's the skill of the mind. So at any point in time you get into, maybe you say this place is toxic. You've allowed the external event to flood your mind. And what it does is it weakens you. That's the energy trap, energy hijack. So the skill of the mind is silent, is still, periodical silence, not always engagement, not always arguing, not always fighting, not always proving, not always arguing. Those are what deplete the quality and the riches of your mind, especially when you prove. There's nothing to prove. That is weakness because you're looking for external validation and approval. You are validated and approved. Silence, still. Oh, so that they say I'm weak. Those who are sure of themselves do not speak all the time. Men that remain calm have real insight. Why? They are tapping into the unlimited riches of glory and favor. That supernatural strength cannot be external, is within. So that's what I call the skill of the mind. Now we now talk about the energy of the mind. Energy of the mind has to do with how optimistic you are, how joyful you are, how excited you are, how peaceful you are, the tranquility of your mind. So you will see how calm, how robust it is. When they talk about this man has a large heart, what it means that he has knowledge of the mind, he has the skill of the mind. Now the energy of the mind can never be compromised because the quality of the mind is in a state of joyfulness and excitement. It's a state of joy, optimism, what they call universal optimism. So what it does eventually at that moment, you begin to, when something wants to be, that's why I say the peace that passes all understanding. Because nobody can explain why you are going through the same thing you're going. You are calm, you're cool. Why? Because your energy that you connect with that event is a supernatural strength, not lower strength. People tell me, oh, I'm human. Every time you say that place of human, you have compromised your mental state to weakness. You are not tapping into this supernatural strength that flood your innermost, being with his divine mind and explosive. So that's why you see the energy of the mind is simple. Once your mind is feeble, you have shifted your energy to weakness, not strength. And that's really where the problem is. Oh, you lost a job. Yeah, you just lost a job. You didn't lose yourself. The content of the quality of who you are. Oh, it's difficult. Before I got this job, I suffered, I trekked. Let me tell you, most times you lose your job. What happened is that job is keeping you small. You have to lose it. That vessel that you carry as a job is too insignificant. So you have to lose the job to build, we call it the dark room shift, in order to go and expand the vessel. And that vessel, because now you've been praying for increase. And if they give you increase within the same capacity of your mind, you cannot carry it. So when you lose a job, what it does is that it's going to check the vessel that is it and expand it. You know, I read something that really changed the entire space of my life, and a story was told about people who were living with their boss, and the place was too small. Now their mind was bigger. If you don't have a bigger mind, you continue to live in small place. In fact, where you are is because your little mind has not been expanded. And that's why you are not expanding. So it's not expansion, because the expansion cannot contain the small mind you have. So the loss, even some sickness, is to expand you. The disappointment is to expand you. You see, that rejection is to redirect you to a place where the capacity of your mind has to be stretched. That's the energy of the mind. And you see, people say, oh, I cannot have money. Money is an energy. It responds to the state of your mind, the capacity of your mind. And if you see that if we give you money that will kill you, that will make you now start behaving, and that's why most people just have money like this. Have you seen that they have no control again? Everybody, they become arrogant, they're oppressive, their language changes. Why? Because the energy of their mind has not found that capacity to take more. That's the energy of the mind. Your sickness kills you because your mind energy is so weak to give command to sickness. That's why I say that according to the decree of the watchers. So the energy of the mind, they are watching. Like, if every time you have a negative impression over your mind, it's like going to the bank to withdraw money without putting it back. And the more you withdraw, you become deficit. So your energy deficit is what is affecting your finance, affecting your relationship, your marriage, even your work. When people say, I'm losing energy, the integrity of their energetic mind has been compromised. Success is rooted in your energy type, your mind type. So we talk about knowledge, we'll talk about skill, we'll talk about energy, and now we'll move it to the attention. You see, your life is driven by the attention of your mind, not the physical eye. What is the mind? What's the mind vision? You have to train it. Like, when I wake up every morning, I train my the attention of my mind. This morning I was training my mind into beauty. And in that beauty is called what they call moral excellence or moral innocency, where you are not governed by the past. You know why Paul say, I die daily? You know what is that doing? He is indirectly telling you my past cannot dictate my future. You see, the experience, the encounter of yesterday cells cannot affect today's cells. I know that people live in fact for prediction, but that's like the merit of the mind. That's not how the mind works. The mind doesn't work with fact, it works with truth. And I can tell you about what they call truth. I'm going to start with what they call truth and utility. That's how we are going to dive into outcome dependent. So you now see the knowledge of the mind has three components. It has mental clarity. I've not given the spirit of fear, but of a spirit of a sound mind, of power and love, right? Now, so that's what knowledge does. The skill of the mind is the tool to filter the mind and to protect the mind, which is what we'll talk about. We'll talk about silent, still, sensitivity, smile. Smile always. Smile always. No matter what, periodically smile is a great energy. Now, the energy is, see, a merry heart do work what? Like a medicine. They are not my words. A merry heart do work like a medicine. The charm, the warm heart is energy. And which just propelled you to your attention. So I wake up and say, hey, I have a beautiful mind. I have a pleasant mind. I have a blissful mind. I have a joyful mind. I'm in a joyful state. I'm in a state of goodness. When I talk about I dwell in goodness and in prosperity, I dwell in plenty. What am I doing? I am shaping my mind on what it should focus. I dwell in goodness. I dwell in prosperity. I'm an extender. I'm a contributor. I'm an advantage. I'm a great leader. I'm an unlocker. I'm an optimist. I'm an achiever. That is mind training to focus. I've gone this. And now, so what it will lead you is the quality of your mind. Have you now seen how knowledge, skill, energy, and mind attention now create a state of the mind, the quality of your mind. And this quality of your mind will give you what they call the boundless freedom and power. Because now it's no longer controlled or dictated by happenstance or event. So you can interpret a sad man from a compassionate state because they are now filled with compassion and empathy. You are now judging from a state of strength, not from a state of weakness. You talk about connection to alignment. You talk about beauty in ashes. You talk about humor and humility, which is what we call intellectual humility, where you recognize that you don't know everything. So boundless power is such a very powerful point. It denies psychological fear. It brings you out of limitation. It brings you out of lack. It gives you are no longer ego-driven. Ego-driven want to be hot. You cannot be hot anything because it's only your ego that perceive hot. That's because your mind is connected to a lower self, not to a higher self. What it means that you are the extension of the creative force, because now you have what we call creative capability, and that's the creative agency. You create. You're supposed to create, not to be created. Every time you get angry, you have been created. Every time you say, I am frustrated, situations have created an impact on you. You're not making impact. Life is impacting on you. Why? The state of the mind. What it does is you get into what they call unconditional love. We live a conditional world rather than unconditional. That's why you see our mental flexibility. You read a book like what they talk about fixed mindset and growing mindset. What does that mean? A growing mindset will indicate that, listen, I have the internal power, internal order to govern myself, which is what they call self-agency and self-governance. But you can never have self-governance when you are dictated by external things. And that's really the major problem. So let's break it down. How do you work it out? There's what I call the truth and utility. When you know the truth, like what we're expanding this truth, it is the utilization. Every time you doubt your truth, you cannot train the mind to hold power. It's like when if you make a promise to yourself and don't fulfill it, you weaken your base of self-trust. And that's why you doubt yourself. These are fundamental principles that when you understand it, you make yourself a promise, fulfill it. That's what they call truth and utilization. You say, I won't do this again. The day you do it, you have compromised the quality of your mind because you're giving it self-doubt. You cannot be dependent. You can't depend on yourself. And that's actually why you're afraid. And that's why you have fear. But make yourself see the truth. For instance, let's say you have a truth that let go. And you find out that mercy triumphs over judgment. And somebody hurt you or did not do something that aligned to your anticipated outcome. Let it go. The more you utilize this, what are you doing? You're strengthening the bond, the integrity of your mind. But the moment you go otherwise, it weakens. And so the greatest problem of man is disobedience to truth that is not utilized. And that's why you see, if you go to your office and they give you fundamental truth like principles that govern that office, the more you disobey it, the more you lose confidence. And that's why there is no self-confidence. Apparently, that's what affects your self-esteem. Let's say, for instance, you're a marketer and you went to visit an office, and in that office, they didn't treat you well. Now, their treatment is not who you are. Your mind should focus on the purpose. We call it purpose and connection. Focus on why you are there. The acceptance or non-acceptance is outside your control. Now, when they reject you and bounce the door and you said, I'm sad, what happened? You trained your mind to be weak. And now, because of that weak imprint, you begin to interpret a similar event from that state of weakness. This is masterclass. You know, the Bible says that a righteous man is delivered by knowledge. So the problem of life is disobedience. And so when the scripture said obedience is better than sacrifice, what it means that the more you begin to have truth and the utilization of that truth, it begins to prime your mind. It begins to, train your mind. You begin to influence your mind to strength and not weakness. Okay. Where does this thing all end up? We call it the outcome dependent. Really, honestly, it seems that we don't have life. And we said outcome is a gift. They are controllable things. They are things you cannot control. Now, so what is the danger of outcome dependent? Your peace and worth and your next level are always tied down to result instead of your process, value, and conviction. Every time that you got angry, you didn't have internal value that regulates you. Because now, when we talk about core values, that is what they call the mind constitution. You cannot say you live an authentic life without primarily having, first of all, your identity. What does it mean? I wake up and tell myself I'm a leader. And my leadership means that I need to lead myself into betterment. I need to lead myself from disorder to order. I need to lead myself from procrastination to where I am prompt. I need to lead myself to steadiness. I need to lead myself to commitment, to the end. I need to lead myself to closure. You see what leadership means? Leadership means that I am leading myself into betterment. So now I am agent of leading people into betterment. Because why? That's who I am. Now I'm a builder. It means that if I found something contrary, I need to build it back into order, into excellence. So the first thing a man does is that you need to find your identity, and your identity gives you value. And that value creates a process that creates a conviction. So your anger, something that affects you, means that you don't have an inner conviction because you don't trust who you are. And that's why you're angry. That's why you're triggered. That's why you're upset. And that's why you're vexing. And that's why you feel that nobody likes you. Because one, you do not have your essential self. Because life responds to your identity, your value, your conviction, and the process of aligning to them. People say, I'll be okay if my work is okay. I'll be valuable if they say yes to me. But I'll be unworthy if something turned out as failure. And that's why people go to school and to receipt because they have failed, because they didn't have the mental strength that regulates their day-to-day action. And so their attention span was hijacked and distorted. And so now they are not in equal. So now what happened is that you can't go and do the receipt because now outcome has become your real identity. You are a real failure. But you're not a failure. I give instance, I'm a marketer. I went somewhere and the guy walked me out of the office. The next morning I came back because it is the purpose that I connected to that visit, not the outcome. So if I have allowed the outcome, now that outcome has taken my identity. What am I? I'm a marketer. What does marketer do? They have mental resilience to repeat continuously until they attain that. So that's why you see outcome dependent. That's why there's so much disappointment. So what does it look? Mood swing will result. Good result, high. Bad result, you crash. Fear-driven choices. You pick what is safe to succeed and what. That's why you cannot confront certain demon around you. You can't face your challenge. Why? Because outcome has become your identity. Oh, outcome cannot be my identity. I'm bigger than outcome. I'm bigger than outcome. And outcome could also be people pleasing. Oh, they didn't treat me right. Oh, I went for a wedding. Nobody recognized me. You are an invited soul. You are just invited, an invitee. You can't control how they are going to treat you. Oh, I sold my CB. Oh, I did this one. Make all the sacrifice. It's not what they did. It's now, outcome has become your real identity. So you're acting out of identity. My God. So, what it does, your peace is taken. Your peace is taken. That's why you have poor decisions. That's why you're burnt out. This is the true problem. The problem is we become our outcome and act from outcome because we're dependent on outcome, not on our identity, not our value, not our internal conviction that create a process. That's why you see the target is killing you because you have become target. You are the one who should drive target, not target driving you. Can I say that again? When target drive you, you have taken a different identity. And that's why you are weak. That's why you are afraid. That's why you have poor decision. And that's why you are disoriented. That's why you are grumbling. That's why there's a complaint. Because now you are now outcome. And that's why you're burnt out. That's what they call identity crisis. When we talk about identity crisis, it's the major problem. That's why you see people are now, substance has become who they are. Now, substance is now driving you. Oh, but what about my spouse I live on a daily basis? Have you noticed that before your spouse came, you was a happy person, upbeat person, optimistic? Now, the outcome of your spouse, you have identified with it, and now you're operating from that outcome. And that's a new garment that you've worn. This is a classical teaching. Even me, I'm liberated around it. It's not grammar. Listen to it again. Once you are wrongly identified with outcome, you're finished. You're not the failure. You're not the marriage apart is not you. How do I know? If you walk out like this and you didn't tell anybody that you're married, it's your story that will tell them. Oh, you lost somebody special. Now you become lost. And that's why you are now lost. Oh, you lost your mind. You lost your essence. Why? You have identified with the loss of that precious person. I'm not downplaying it. But now outcome, you have become your outcome. That's why when I do something, I don't say that I've lost something, I've enriched life. You see how I'm identifying with it? I'm an enricher. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have said a lot about today's mental clinic. It is a beautiful thing that you understand that you are not outcome dependent. You are more than your outcome. Stop identifying with your outcome. Yes, your boss is toxic. Don't identify with toxic people. Identify that you are blessed, you're blissful, you're a pleasant person, you're an upbeat personality. And the more you stand on your identity, you stay on your value and your inner conviction, you follow the process. That's why with peace, with patience, you possess your possession. I want to bring you to, as I bring this to an end, I plead with you, let the integrity of your mind be sound, be solid, and be sweet. You become safe, you become secured, and you operate from strength. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful time to have you on this mental clinic. Stay in love, stay in generosity, and stay with a liberal mind, and keep your mind open. Thank you.